Now that we are able to display text from a button into a label, we take it one step further and learn about text properties. Now on our label here, from our attributes inspector, we can clearly see that we've got a load of options here to change the colour, whether we have it blue. We can change this font size, we can alignment and all stuff like this. But not always do you want it to have one theme within the app. So what we're going to do is have two additional buttons for our label to change the text properties within the application. So what we do is simply drag in a button. We'll place it underneath our label and our current button, and this one will be our set color. I'll simply copy and paste. Now place this on the opposite side, and this will be our set font and size. I'll just drag that a little bit wider. Okay, so we've got two buttons now, each going to do two different actions to our label. So as before, we got our button which simply press and it will display the text in our label. We now have a button to set the colour of our label, and also one to set the font and size. Now again, like I said before, you can do all this from with the attributes inspector here, but this is purely if you want to hard code it and have the app change in front of the user, or if you want to have settings options in your application, or if you just want something that the user can adjust text within your application. Okay then, so what we're going to do is open up our assistant editor, and I'm simply going to drag our right click and drag, or control click and drag our color button underneath our IB action press me button. Make sure it's in action, and I'll simply name this set color, and all the options are going to remain the same apart from taking the argument to none, and connect that. And just repeat the process for our set font and size, making sure it's on an action. Now I'll simply name it set font and size, and the arguments will go to none, and simply again connect that. Now that we've created our actions and we've linked them up to our buttons, we can now go into our viewController.m, which we can now add the code in to configure our buttons to do something. So the first thing we're going to do now is, as you can see, we got our buttons all linked up here. It's simply in our set color, we're going to set the color first to start it off nice and simple. Now just like how we display text above, we have our label.text to equal the string hello. It's very similar on setting the text color. And to do that, again, we simply name our label. And this time, instead of doing .text, we do .text color. So now we're taking the text color attribute of our label, and we're going to do space to equal, and now we do it into a bracket, and now we need to bring up our UI color function. So we do capital UI color space, and now we name the color of which we want our font to change to. So I'm going to simply pick a nice simple color like red. And so what we simply do is type out the color name, which in my case is red, and then it will be red color. Or alternatively, you can do blue or black, or we've got brown or magenta, I believe it is, yeah. And then simply, so I'm going to simply have it to display red color, end it with a bracket, and then always to end every line of code with a semicolon. So basically what this is doing now is taking our label and then selecting the text color attribute of the label to equal a UI color, and the UI color is red. So as soon as I hit the button, our label will turn red. So let's test that out first. Okay, so now once it's loaded up, we have from our previous lecture how to display text. We press our button, displays hello. And now we have our set color button, which when we press, our text turns to red. Now we've got our set font and size button here that does nothing, as we've added no code in it just yet. So from our set color here, we can add any color we'd like within the application and change how the app looks right in front of your user's face. Okay, so let's go back to Xcode. Okay then, so now in our set font and size, we are simply now going to type out our next piece of code, and this will change the font and the size of our label. So already at the moment it's selected on the system system font, which is just the basic standard like default for a font. So now we're going to change it to something more exotic like the Arial font. So to do that, we simply do a bracket and then type out our label, space, and now we're going to do set font, and then this highlighted section here we need to do a bracket, and just like how we did with our colour, we need to select the configuration for our UI font, which is UIF font, space, font with name, and then it brings up this NS string here, which for now we're going to do an @ symbol, quotation mark, and then in the size we are also going to now place a simple number which will be equal to the size of our font, which for now I'm just going to put in 20, and then end it all up with a bracket, and a semicolon. Again, just to go over what this all basically means, is we are taking our label and then we are going to set the font, which we need to set the configuration of our UI font, and then we have font with name, and in between our two quotation marks here will be the name of our font. Now there's lots to choose from, and if you're not sure which one to use, if you go to our main.storyboard, again you can always set the font from our attributes inspector here, and it's already pre-selected on system. So if I go to custom, you now got a whole list of fonts you can use, so you don't have to do the way I'm doing right now, but this is a way to hard code it if you want the user to change if they don't like the look of your app, or if you want to display different text at different times. So this is a great way to do it. So I'll put it back to system font now. So in our view controller.m again, we're simply going to have a nice simple Arial font. Now the size is at 20, and if I double check now what the current size is, so the current size is 17. Now I'll make the label a little bit bigger to compensate for the increase in size, and now I'm going to up it to simple 25. So as well as selecting the font name and changing the font name, it's also going to change the size of the font which is displayed in the label, which will increase the font's label size. So now if we go to build and run, okay, then now as it's loaded, like we've done with our set colour, we're going to press our press me button to set our text label. We're going to set the colour with our set colour button, which changes it to red. And then finally we're going to set the font and size of our label. Now Arial is pretty similar to the current system font, so you won't see much visual changes, but most noticeable will be the size. So as soon as we hit that, you can see our size and our font has slightly changed, but the size has increased dramatically. So that's a nice simple way how to adjust the text properties from within your application, and also how to do it from the attributes inspector in the interface. Next we talk about having the user add their own text by using text fields.